Good morning everybody and welcome to another video in Scotland. Today I'm on the Isle of Seal, but I'm just about to drive to the pier a couple of miles away to get the ferry over to the Isle of Luing. It's another one of the Slate Islands. So this is the ferry I'll be getting over to Luing. As you can see, it has room for a couple of cars on there. I've just come off the ferry now and I've now arrived on the Isle of Luing. It has a population of about 200, but it had about 600 at its peak when the quarries were still in business, which will probably be around the mid-19th century when it was at its peak. As you can see, the weather is absolutely glorious today. I was in Scotland the same week last year when I went to some other islands, including St Kilda and Mingulay, and I had the same kind of weather, like no wind, blue sky, sunny. It's going to be 20 degrees this afternoon, which is very unusual for this part of the world. So that's shorts and t-shirt weather. So now I'm just going to drive around the island and I'm going to see the different sites before I stop somewhere for lunch. There's one shop on the island and there is somewhere to have lunch. Behind me are the remains of Ballycastle Fort. The fort was probably constructed around 2,500 years ago and may have been in use over a long period of time. It's too large to have been roofed, but whether it had internal structures is not known as it has never been excavated. The mass of tumbled rock outside and inside suggests its walls were much higher than today. Historians don't know if Ballycastle Fort was lived in or had other uses such as ceremonies and gatherings, but it was certainly an important monument in the area. So if you want to come up here, I'd only recommend it if you are an experienced hiker because there's not really any path, lots of rocks, it's very overgrown, so it's quite easy to trip up and probably best coming in twos, I would say. Behind me is the primary school of the island. It's closed at the moment temporarily because there aren't enough children on the island to justify reopening the school. So for the time being, any children here, I presume, would go to the primary school over on Seal. That school only has 31 children at the moment, split over 2 classes. This is the Kilchattan Church. This one was built in 1934. And it's still open for services on a Sunday. And this gift is inside. You'll be able to see it when it's open. It was given to the islanders from the owners of a ship from Latvia that was shipwrecked here in 1936. This was to show appreciation for searching for the survivors, and they buried the dead on this graveyard. And this is the island's war memorial. 10 men from Luing lost their lives during the First World War and 5 during the Second. Throughout the Slate Islands in the 19th century, the quarry companies used to provide access to healthcare by deducting a small amount from wages to help fund a local doctor's practice. Hugh Gillies was the island doctor until 1880, and from 1890 his son Patrick qualified from the University of Edinburgh and returned to the islands to run the medical practice. Dr. Gillies had a boat which he would use to visit patients on other islands. He treated injuries from quarry and farm accidents, he dealt with outbreaks of infectious diseases and managed childbirth with the help of local midwives.
Poor sanitation and overcrowding resulted in many cases of tuberculosis towards the end of the 19th century, and the doctor also campaigned for better public health improvements such as isolation facilities for infectious diseases, better sanitation and medical care for children.
Just behind me here you can see the remains of an old mill. This mill was used to grind oats and barley. It was opened around 1808 and it was operational until about the 1890s. You can still see the old water wheel on the side.
A mill and smithy are known to have existed in this area since the 17th century, and probably much earlier than that, although the location of these early buildings is not known. Surrounding the mill was the miller's croft, with a small house, enclosure and outbuildings.
So this is something a bit strange. I've just come across on the outside wall of the church. I can't read it all properly. It says something like, "Take notice, if any person take authority to," I think it says, "meddle with this stone again, see what judgment come upon." I can't really read the rest of it. I can't read this stone either. It's faded too much.
And this is the other side of that stone that I just saw on the outside wall. And it says, "I protest that none be buried after me in this grave which I have dug for myself, having adhered until death to the whole work of the Second Reformation in Scotland between 1638 and 1649. And the name is Alex Campbell at the bottom. So if you know anything about this, leave me a comment under the video.
Behind me is the old Kilchattan Church, built about 800 years ago, and it remained in use to about the year 1680, although after that time they still continue to use the graveyard. There's something a bit special here that I want to have a look for, so I'm just going to have a walk around the building and hopefully I'll find it. This is some graffiti left on one of the rocks. It's been dated to the 13th century. And it looks like some boats. And from what I've read, I'm not sure whether it's just me that can't see it or whether it's faded, is that on the boats there were some animal heads drawn and some crosses.
In early times, slate was quarried by hand from along the shore, leaving jagged rocks. In the 19th century, slate was excavated from quarries close to the village. As these were exhausted, quarrying moved northwards in the 20th century, and the last one closed in 1965. Piles of finished slates were stacked along the shore, ready for transport to the pier by tramway, and then were exported by boat. Huge quantities of slate waste were produced, which was used to construct buildings and houses spread out along the shore and piled up beside the quarries. In the late 18th century, there were only a few cottages here, surrounded by quarries. By the mid-19th century, there were several rows of cottages built by the Marble and Slate Company for its workers, and which are now listed buildings. Tapped water arrived in the village early in the 20th century.
Around this village, they used to have 6 different quarries. The last one closed in 1965 on this island. Behind me in the distance, you can see the abandoned island called Belnahua. It used to have about 150 inhabitants at its peak, but then the quarries closed, everybody left the island, it's completely abandoned now. There are still houses on there to see, but there are no organised boat trips. So if you know somebody with a boat who can take you over there, maybe you can visit it. I would like to visit it if I come again. I'm going to try and zoom in with the camera, but my phone isn't very good, so hopefully I can pick up something, but we'll see. So in front you'll be able to see a lighthouse, and just behind it to the right is Belnahua, the abandoned island.
In 2015, the engine house took on a new lease of life, replaced by the Atlantic Islands Centre. It's now a popular visitor and community centre, owned and run by the Isle of Luing Community Trust. The archives and collection of Luing History Group are housed in this centre, and there are informative and changing displays on local history and archaeology on the ground floor. There's also an excellent cafe here where they sell cakes and biscuits made by local bakers. The centre hosts regular crafting and music events, as well as a bar on some Saturday nights. There's also a shop selling a great range of island-made crafts and books by local authors. That's all from me today. If you like this video, please check out my other videos on the Scottish Islands, including the other Slate Islands of Seal and Easdale. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.